What's going on YouTube? This is DestinyHeroic. I'm coming at you today with the updated deck profile of my Omega Lock Vylon deck. So let's just get right into it here. A few things have changed since I posted the deck list last time, but I posted a video explaining some of the additions that I had added since I posted the last video. So a lot of this should be pretty clear. So probably the most important addition is a pair of Gen X neutrons. Um, these are light level 4s, and the turn you summon, you search for a machine tuner, which is your Vylon cube. You do that during the end phase if it doesn't get Veilored. And he's got a solid 1800 attack, so this guy is actually a really good card to start out with on the first turn in the Vylon deck, if you don't have the lock on the first turn. Next, a pair of Photon Thrashers. The Photon Thrashers deal with Thunder King Ryo if people are still playing it in your area, and it's also a special summon. So you can special summon it and then normal summon your cube, or you can normal summon your Trident Warrior and then summon your cube, and you can go through your loop that way. This is basically just another way to get a level 4 light on the field in addition to your cube. 3 Trident Warriors. This guy is really important when you have cube in your hand. You normal summon him, summon out the cube, and then go for your level 7 Vylon. And there's still the one Vylon Hept. Hept is more of a backup plan. If you don't get your loop off, and you have some equips like the tuners in the graveyard, and you can attach them. You can attach them to guys on your field. Then Hept can help you summon those out and give you an instant exceed or an instant synchro. And obviously, Sphere and Tetra are at the center of the Vylon Omega loop. There's not really much I need to say about that. This guy when he's attached to something, this guy defends against a destruction effect. And Sphere, you can swap from the equip zone for any equip spell in the graveyard. 3 cubes. This is the most important card in the deck. You have to run 3. This will tutoring out this guy fast, and then using him to tutor out whatever spell you need is really important to getting the loop off. 3 Vylon Prisms. Now that we have Shockmaster, 3 level 4 Vylon Tuners is absolutely essential for the lockdown to work. Triple Effect Veiler. This is a metagame choice. All the tour guides and stuff running around, and the ability to stop you in your tracks or set up an offensive field that you can't deal with if you're on the defensive. You really need to run Veiler at 3. And now for the one-ofs, Shining Angel tutors out whatever you need. It'll get your cube if it's destroyed by battle. You can get an Honest. This guy. You can get Honest if you need to attack over something, or whatever you need. If you want to get an Effect Veiler, I don't know why you would, but whatever. And Sangan. This is a defense. Sangan is a defensive first turn play. You set it, they kill it. You get your cube. Summon a Trident Warrior or a Photon Thrasher. Summon your cube and get your loop going. So that's the monster lineup. So the spells, obviously at the center of the loop is the Rod of Silence Chaos. Outside of the loop, it really has no use in the deck, so we're only running 1. This is generally our search with the Vylon cube. And for Vylon equips, there are 3 filaments. This is for when your loop has gone off and you attach this to an Omega to stop their mirror forces and stuff like that. Vylon materials. An attack boost isn't really all that important in this deck, but of the Vylon equip spells that are available, this is definitely one of the better ones. And Vylon component. You usually want to cycle through this in the loop. This is for when your opponent tries to defend with like a Spirit Reaper or something. This deck doesn't really destroy monsters. It relies on attacking to win. So if they have a Spirit Reaper or something, you can attach this to your Omega and pierce for 3,200 damage every turn. So that's Vylon equips. Vylon spells, double element. I'm only running 2 because the space in this deck is really tight, and with Vylon element you can search it out with any of your Vylon equip spells. All of your equips have the effect of, if they're destroyed, if they're sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Vylon spell to your hand. It doesn't have to be an equip, so you can search for a Vylon element. And I'd like to note that these are all if triggers, so they don't miss timing when they're destroyed. And Vylon matters. This is what you use if you've cycled through all, I guess it's 7 of your equip spells. You search this off the last equip, and you shuffle 3 of them back in and keep looping. And then this will always pay for itself. You shuffle the equips back in, you destroy something, or you draw a card. And for one-ofs, we've got Monster Reborn. There's really no reason not to run it. Dark Hole, for when you can't seem to get things going and you need to control what your opponent's doing. And this is a new addition, Release Restraint Wave. This is basically your Heavy Storm. You can't really run Heavy Storm in this deck because you don't want to be blowing up your backfield. But this gets around that nicely. This is, you destroy one of your equips and then destroy all set spell and trap cards your opponent has. And because your equips are all if triggers, you will replace the equip with, replace the equip that you destroy, and then destroy everything that they have. So it's kind of situational. It's a little bit more situational than Heavy Storm, but it has a really nice synergy with the deck, so that's why it's in here. And finally, I dropped Royal Decree down to 2 because I've noticed that outside of the Solemn Brigade and a couple of Torrential Tributes, there aren't a lot of big traps being played nowadays. So I felt that 2 decrees is plenty, especially with Shockmaster available to negate traps when he needs to. Okay, so onto the extra deck. Obviously the big 2, Vylon Omega, and number 16 Shockmaster. These 2 guys on the field set up your perfect lock, and this field is your ultimate lock. So this is negating spells, he's negating monster effects, and they can't play traps. So this is your complete lockdown. They can't do anything if you have that field. Shockmaster, so happy that he's out now. This is why we moved up to 3 Vylon, whatever his name is, the level 4 guy. Prism, yeah. And so Vylon Delta, only playing 1. This is usually your go-to guy. If you have your entire loop in your hand, this is usually the guy you're going to bring out, the first synchro you bring out. And then you'll do your element play and cycle through all your equips and get your necessary tuners out. If you play him in defense mode, he'll add an equip to your hand during the end phase. So, and he's got a 2800 defense, so you can play him on the defensive if you need to. But if you need to get an equip into your hand, it's a lot better to play Vylon Sigma. He's also level 7. When he attacks, while he's the only guy on the field, you equip him with a spell, with an equip spell from your deck. So this guy's actually at the center of the OTK deck, which I'll show you later. Not in this video, in a different video. But this is a more aggressive option for getting that extra equip, because you need to have, in order for your loop to work, you need to have the Rod of Silence, and ideally you want to have 2 equips, 2 Vylon equips. But that's only if you don't already have your Vylon element. You use 1 equip to get your element, and your other equip starts the loop off. Vylon Epsilons at 2. This is for when you draw your Vylon Tetra, which doesn't happen that much, but it does happen. So this will, if you bring out Vylon Epsilon with your with a couple of Vylon spheres, you can use the spheres and make a Vylon Omega anyway. So you have 8, 9, and 10 for your 2 tuners, and so this is just a secondary way of getting out Vylon Omega. And for non-Vylons, we got Stardust Dragon and Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Wyvern has a nice synergy with this deck. It's an aggro option if you have an open field and you just want to inflict a lot of damage fast and you don't have the loop, but you do have your Trident Warrior and Cube, then you can just punch and do a lot of damage and control the game that way. Stardust Dragon is just basically there for good measure. So we're into Exceeds now. I already showed you the Shockmaster, but for rank 4 triple overlays, I'm playing a Shark Drake. This is a good option if you like to go aggro. He can do a lot of damage, especially if you're attacking. If you have this guy up next to a Vylon Omega, and you attack over a Sangan, Omega can negate the Sangan's effect, and then you can bring it up and attack it again for a lot of damage. So, and this is Vylon Disigma. This is actually a Japanese copy, because at the time of my recording this video, Hidden Arsenal 6 isn't out yet, and I don't own a dual terminal one yet. So this guy is basically, he's a rank 4 triple overlay, and once per turn he can eat one of your opponent's face-up monsters and equip the monster to him, and then he becomes a cataster for that monster's element. Steel Swarm Roach, with Chaos Dragons being popular, and this deck can put out rank 4s pretty easily. Roach is a good choice. I'm playing 1 Giga Brilliant. He has synergy with Honest because he's a light attribute, and if you don't want to put out Omega, like you don't feel like you need to or anything like that, and you just want to spam out a bunch of tuners and do a bunch of Exceed summoning, you can bring this guy out last and boost everybody by 300 attack and deal a lot of damage that way. And Leviathan Dragon for your loop when you don't want to bring out Shockmaster for some reason. And Utopia is in here just for good measure, because this deck makes rank 4s pretty easily. So that's the deck. I'm not going to do a demo. The combos are pretty much the same, so if you can go back on my channel through my history and find my Project Vylon videos, that shows you how you get all the combos out. So thanks for watching, and peace.